What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. In this episode, I'll talk about the great weekend that awaits us in all sports, but here specifically, I'll be talking about the combat sports. First, for boxing, starting with the top rank card headlined by Luis Alberto El Venado Lopez, putting up his featherweight title versus Joet Gonzalez. This fight is on a Friday, which is pretty weird to me. I believe it had something to do with the UFC Fight Night card and ESPN not wanting to have both of them on at the same time. Anyways, this top rank card is amazing. So many great up-and-coming fighters on it. Emilianovargas is on this card, and it is his 5th fight of the year. This is a little bit of a tougher opponent, so hopefully we can see an improvement in his defense, but I believe Emiliano will still get a great win. Also on the card is Dalantejohnson. Tiger has been developing really well. Even in his quote-unquote bad performances, you see his improvement. Hopefully he's able to get a stoppage this fight, but undoubtedly he'll get a win. One of the best prospects in boxing in xanderzayas is also on the card, and I do think he'll obviously win, but he's not my favorite prospect on the card. My favorite prospect on the card is Omar El Pollo Aguilar. He's great. I'm not going to lie, I first noticed him when he fought Lindolfo Delgado in August of last year, and boy did Top Rank and his handlers fuck up. He's good, don't get me wrong, but I think it was too early for him to go up against an opponent like Lindolfo, who in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before Lindolfo fights for and potentially wins a world title. But now back to Pollo, he's fighting a tough opponent, but if he's able to look half as good as he did against Lindolfo, I believe he'll still get a great win. But now for the main event, a Mexican versus Mexican-American, Luis Alberto El Venado Lopez versus Joet Gonzalez, for Venado's IBF featherweight world title. What a fight this is going to be. First, talking about Luis Alberto El Venado Lopez. Venado is coming off of a great knockout win over an extremely tough opponent in Mick Conlan. And just being straight up, Venado was dominant. Although Venado's defense is kind of non-existent, Venado's style is also very awkward, but whatever works for him. I personally feel Venado will be at his best when he's fighting on the inside, as when he's at distance, he's almost always at a reach disadvantage, and he doesn't have a great feel for distance. But for his opponent, Joet Gonzalez, Joet has not had the best of luck in title fights, or even in fights when they've been close decisions, as Joet's first title fight was against one of my top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in Shakur Stevenson, and I won't talk about all that out-of-the-ring stuff that happened prior to that fight, but he also fought Emmanuel Navarrete in a close fight, but again, Joet just wasn't able to pull it off in some people's eyes and in the judges. It was still a great fight for us fans, and in his latest loss versus Isaac Dogboe, this one via split decision. And let me just say, there's no way that Joet lost that fight. I feel he was comfortably winning that fight and was done wrong by the judges on the cards. Now for Joet's chin, his chin is great, 10 out of 10. He's taken some hard shots from some hard-hitting opponents, and he still kept moving forward. Joet's style, like Venado's, is one of a kind. Joet's the type of fighter that he can't be in a boring fight. There has been times where Joet could make a fight boring by just staying on the outside and boxing, but he doesn't do that. He goes straight to his opponent and gets right on the inside. And I honestly feel there's no way Joet could beat Venado, as Joet has a style almost identical to what Mick Conlan came out with versus Venado the last time out, and I feel it'll end in the same way with Venado getting a knockout. But nonetheless, this will be a great fight. Now for the UFC card headlined by Alexa Grasso putting up her flyweight title against former champion and women's UFC flyweight GOAT Valentina Shevchenko. There's also many fighters with Latin roots on the card. First, for some fighters and fights on the card, starting with a female fighter most males know, that is Tracycortez. It's been over a year since Tracy's last fight, and a lot of people say Tracy's at where she's at because of her looks, but I honestly don't think so. Tracy is a good fighter, but at the pace she's going of having one fight a year for the past 3 or so years, we'll never see it, or if we do, it'll be too late. To me, this is no easy fight for her first fight back. She's going up against jasminejasudavicius, and it's going to be a very good, hard-fought fight. My winner would probably be Tracy, but it could go either way. For another fight, Edgarchairez versus daniellacerda. This is going to be another great fight. Chairez gave top prospect Tatsuro Taira a great fight on short notice last time around, and hopefully he could do the same with Daniellacerda. Daniel is coming off of 4 straight fights being finished, but in each fight, he's been good to start, but the gas tank is his problem. He burns himself out early and has nothing left to give after the first round or so. I personally want Edgarchairez to win this fight, but it's really the definition of a 50-50 fight. And another one would be Roman Kopylov versus Josh Fremd. I'm not going to talk too much about this fight, but this is great matchmaking by the UFC. I want Josh to win, but it's another very close fight. Now, on the main card, there is three great Mexican prospects in Fernandopadilla, Danielzellhuber, and Raulrosasjr. Jr. Each of them are fighting tough opponents in their own right, but the fight I want to talk about is Raul Rosas Jr. versus Terrence Mitchell. Both of them are coming off of a loss, but I feel for Raul it was worse. He was on a major high coming off of the Contender Series to get humbled in his second official UFC fight after a great first fight really hurt him more. And it just came off of one mistake, not knowing how to pace yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Nonetheless, this is going to be a great fight, and it is a very tough opponent for Raul, as Terrence himself is great on the ground, so we'll have to see a development in Raul's stand-up if he even thinks about winning, or if he'll even have a chance of winning this fight. That doesn't mean I want Raul to lose. I actually want him to win, and in dominating fashion, but it is really about how Raul comes out and how his development's been going. Now, for the co-main event, Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena. What a fucking banger we have on our hands. Both of these fighters are amazing, very entertaining. Jack is coming off of a very controversial decision win over Basile Hafez. On the ground and in the clinch is where Basile performed best. Jack didn't look the best, but you can't really fault him either. He was fighting an opponent on extremely short notice, so that changes pretty much your whole game plan. As for Kevin Holland, where Jack looked bad at, Kevin shined in his last fight, submitting UFC veteran Michael Chiesa in the first round. But Kevin's unpredictable. You never know how he's going to want to come out and fight. And this one is no different. I would say Kevin needs to take this fight to the ground, but we all know he won't. I believe he'll keep this fight on the feet, and that'll be the wrong decision. So with that being said, I believe Jack Della Maddalena will win this fight. Now for the main event, Alexa Grasso versus Valentina Shevchenko for Alexa's flyweight title. These two just fought earlier this year, and which saw longtime champion Valentina dethroned by submission. Alexa was a big underdog, but like we just seen last week, anything could happen. At the time of this recording, Alexa still goes into this fight as a slight underdog, which is quite fair as most people believed Valentina was dominating the fight until she wasn't. I believe this fight will be a lot like the first one, with Alexa having some good moments but just not doing enough while Valentina looks better during the rounds. But I do feel Alexa has the grappling advantage, not just because she tapped Valentina out, but because there was moments in the first fight where Alexa did take Valentina's back, got out of submission attempts, and was just able to get out of situations on the ground where most of Valentina's former opponents didn't. There's really nothing to say about Valentina. She's one of, if not the best, women's MMA fighter of all time. Stand-up wise, she undoubtedly takes it. Valentina is a world champion level kickboxer, and just on a all-around combat sports level, she's a beast. And on the ground, she again can handle her own with the best of them. Valentina has to remember the flashy shit doesn't always come out how you want. But for me, the winner of this fight will be Alexa Grasso. There is also two DAZN cards, one on Friday, the other on Saturday. The Friday one is a matchroom one. The Saturday card is a Golden Boy card. I won't be watching either of them because they honestly suck. Even the main events suck. One of them will be Angel Fierro versus Brian Samarripa. I believe Angel will win. The one on Saturday is William El Camarón Cepeda versus Mercito Gesta. And this one is quite obvious who will win. I believe Cepeda will get the win. But I just want to see him get a real contender to fight. It fucking sucks that he's 27 years old and is still fighting step-up fights. Zepeda has been pro since 2015 and has rejected more title opportunities than title fights he's had, which is 0. This type of matchmaking is a joke. That's why Golden Boy as a company will stay where it's at being the least entertaining boxing promotion out of all. That's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Also, follow me on Twitter. See you guys later on this week where I talk about the amazing up-and-coming soccer games. See you then.